I wanted to start today with just like the tiniest bit of background on what we're doing here. I had come up with the idea for EconoMe Encore after the last event in November. And really, the idea behind it was to continue the conversations that we started at the conference because it was just incredible. And we were all fired up. And, you know, the next event isn't until March 2023. And I think about like how privileged of a position that I am in creating EconoMe. I have access to all these badass people like Sarah Catherine and Jess. And like I can talk to them whenever I want. And so like, I'm good, but what about everybody else in my audience, right? And so I wanted to create EconoMe Encore to like give you guys access to the kind of access that I have. I wanted to ask Sarah Catherine to join me today. And I'm going to do this like doting intro on her, which she's going to like crawl under the table. I know she is, because she is incredibly humble and gracious person. But every time I talk to Sarah Catherine, I always get like super fired up. Like you'll notice about me, it's already starting to happen. When I get excited, my skin flushes really easily. It's a physical response that I have like no control over. It used to embarrass me all the time. You know what I'm talking about, Sarah Catherine, right? I'm just owning it.
Same thing happens to me too. Yes.
Right. It's like if I'm nervous, if I'm overly excited, if I'm raging fucking mad, like my neck just gets super red, right? And I've noticed when I talk to you, Sarah Catherine, like I'll go to the bathroom afterwards and I'll look in the mirror and I'm just red because you just get me so energized and excited. And I always learn something from you every single time I talk to you. So that's why I really wanted you to be the first episode. And I know she's going to do that for all, like you guys are all going to leave here with red necks. I promise you.
Hey, just because I'm from Arkansas, are we going to start talking about rednecks here?
That's right. Okay. I did not connect those dots, but, but there you go. So just a little background on Sarah Catherine. Sarah Catherine is a CFP, and she has the designation as a chartered retirement plan specialist, right? She is the CEO of her own firm called Aptus Financial. She has 8 planners reporting into her. She has a freaking master's from Harvard University. Hello. She wrote a book called But First Save 10. She's on Instagram. She's on Instagram as Lady Splaining Money, which like I just had to point that out because it's just the best freaking name. And like if all of that didn't impress you, she also ran a breakout session at EconoMe. I say all of that because I really want to drive home the point that Sarah Catherine is highly qualified to be having this conversation. So I want to start with this, Sarah Catherine. What I love about you in some of our conversations is you have this ability to like get on a soapbox. And it's just like, I just love it. I love listening to you get on a soapbox. And so I would love for you to like pontificate on why the FIRE community demonizes financial advisors.
Yeah. Join the club, right? So let me just give the kind of story of how this happened, where I first learned what was going on and started asking questions, the same ones that folks on this call probably ask themselves as well and ask the industry. So you gave my background, and the only part of the background that's missing there is between college and grad school, I served in the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. I was serving the homeless. I ended up doing it for 3 years rather than just 1 year. And so why that's important is when I left the Kennedy School, I became a stock analyst and went to an investment bank. And it's not totally incongruent because I was a national security policy concentration at Harvard. And then I joined a team that was analyzing stocks that are in the government services, businesses, the defense industry. And so that was our portfolio of stocks that we were sell side stock analysts. Okay. So what's interesting though, is the year I became a stock analyst was 2007.
Good year, good vintage.
Right. So here's 0809. The stock market is collapsing. We literally have banks failing, pension funds threatened, 401ks cratering. I mean, it was a terrifying time. And then we're learning about all these mortgage-backed securities. And, you know, the thing that I couldn't shake is that I literally lived in Arizona. And my second 2 years, I was paid like $23,000 a year. And I was like new to adulting. And in my experience as an adult, it was that brokers walk down the street and they offer you mortgages. I thought that was like how this happened. Like people just walk down the street and offer you mortgages. I didn't know anything different. I thought that was adulting. And I almost bought a house. My entire life is defined by my parents knocking sense into me, not by that house. Even though the city of Tempe was putting me through a homeowner program, they were telling me how I could easily afford a $250,000 house. I mean, start cringing. I mean, it was awful. I almost bought a house. And so I was watching the devastation of people I knew who had bought the houses and the financial ruin. And that is where I first articulated the problem with conflict of interest. Now, of course, a broker has a conflict of interest, right? Like they're going to sell you a mortgage and they're going to get a commission on it. But the conflict of interest is deeper. So they're telling you it's a great time to buy. They're telling you it's a great investment opportunity, right? Fine. They can say whatever they want. But what's interesting is instead of selling a mortgage that a bank usually does and keeps on the books and, you know, they have skin in the game, right? So if you can't pay the mortgage, they feel the pain, you feel the pain, everybody feels the pain. Well, these, you know, brokers are obviously selling mortgages and then selling you a mortgage and then selling it to some big bank that would get rolled up into a mortgage-backed security of some kind. So they literally didn't care one way or the other how this thing turned out, right? They were going to walk by your house, sell you this mortgage, be long gone. So that's when I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so that's obviously not where you're going to get financial advice. But how did all these people, including almost me, buy houses? And there was like no one around who could give us independent advice. Now, meanwhile, every other commercial on TV, back when we used to watch TV, was for a financial advisory firm. And they're showing you like cradle to grave financial planning. Like they show when the baby is born. They show when you're walking, across the stage and graduating. You're like, I get it. Like you're here for me, but where are you? I don't understand. Where are you? Like, where were you when I almost bought, a mortgage that was $250,000, even though I was making $23,000 a year? I mean, I could have used you. Okay. So here I am at the investment bank. I am not a financial planner. I'm a sell side stock analyst and I can't let it go. And so this is what I find out. So the vast majority of advisors, and I use that in air quotes, are people who are selling you something. So you walk into an insurance agent who's calling themselves an investment advisor or a financial advisor or financial planner. They can call themselves whatever they want. You walk in there and they are saying, I'm going to help you with your kids' college education. I'm going to help you save. I'm going to help you buy a house. They can tell you everything that they can do. And maybe they can, but you might be a little uncertain on the financial planning. But one thing is certain is that you will with an insurance policy every single time. Because
sorry, you cut out for 1 second. You said you will walk away with an insurance policy every single time, meaning they're going to sell you insurance when you walked in there for advice.
Right. Because that's how they make their money. Otherwise, like, how ridiculous would that be? Like, I'm going to give you independent advice. And you walk in the door and they're like, well, the only way I can make money is if you buy this policy. But yeah, 90% of my people shouldn't be buying this policy. So I'm going to be giving, 90% of my time for free. I mean, that's never going to happen. Like, and I actually think that a lot of these folks believe in what they're selling and they believe that these are the right things for their clients. This is the majority of advice out there.
And sorry to interrupt you. I just want to clarify what you mean by they're going to sell you an insurance policy. Are you talking about life insurance? Are you talking about annuities? Like, what do you mean?
Great clarification. I'm so glad we're doing this interview together. So there are lots of different insurance policies out there, and I'm not necessarily knocking those insurance policies or the fact that people sell them. So these insurance policies can be annuities, whole life policies, variable annuities, universal life. I mean, any of these things. And those aren't bad. I mean, we have insurance agents that we work with, that are fantastic. They're great. But the difference between them and what I'm describing is when we send someone to go buy an insurance policy, that insurance person, that broker doesn't pretend to be anything else but someone selling something.
Yeah.
So if we're sending you to a disability insurance broker, we have some great ones around the country that we send people to. Those people don't pretend to be financial advisors.
Okay. Okay. So wait, follow-up question then. And maybe this is just, I don't know if this is data you have access to, but like, what percentage of people who call themselves financial advisors are actually insurance salesmen?
Well, so let me be more precise in that question. I don't know about insurance salesmen. That is probably the dominant, but
Okay.
these could be also brokers of any financial product. So
Okay.
even a stock, like just a
I see.
commission salesperson. So if you want to say what percentage of the market, they literally make money if you follow through on their advice. They don't make money if you don't follow through on their advice. That's the fundamental like difference, right?
Right.
That's about 90% of the market.
90%.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I had literally gone out there and been like, someone help me, I'm trying to buy a house, I need advice. 90% of the people who would have raised their hands would have been someone who would have gladly given me advice. Only the advice would have led to me buying an insurance policy. And
Instead of a house.
Instead of a house.
But I wanted a house and I walked out with an insurance policy. How did that happen?
There you go. So anyway, so that was the dominant one. So then I was like, okay, there's got to be something better. And that's when I started learning about this distinction and a newly kind of rapidly emerging form of advice that was becoming more dominant. And that was registered investment advisors. So RIAs.
RIA. Okay.
These are fiduciaries.
Okay.
And these people are saying, whoa, 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 that model. Yet now, sorry, and I should back up. I know brokers and I know commission salespeople who are some of the best financial advisors out there. So it is not that it's a bunch of people who don't know what they're talking about and are really trying to screw people over. But I just think that what I'm pointing out is you have a financial conflict of interest with your client. Because the only way you make money is if they do what you're telling them to do. That is not investment. That is not objective fiduciary advice, right? And pretending that it is, I think, is problematic.
Got it.
Okay. So then there's this other form where they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's conflicted. That's conflicted. Like, let's fix that. And so this group of people figured out that you could charge an AUM fee.
And so can you tell us what AUM stands for? Okay.
So that's an assets under management fee. So the idea is here, Diana, go grab that $500,000 that I know you have just sitting there, just waiting. I mean, just sitting in cash, right? That we all have it. Go grab it and bring it to me. And I will charge you a fee on those assets. And I will give you holistic planning on not only the assets and how to invest them, but on all of your financial planning needs.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
Oh, it's a slam dunk. I mean, duh. It eliminates all conflicts of interest, really. Not all conflicts of interest. And I'll get to like how it's still a little conflicted, but it really solves the world's problems of like a broker model where people need to get independent financial advice.
Okay.
Now, Diana, do you see the problem with this?
Please connect the dots for me, Sarah Catherine.
We don't have $500,000. It's like becoming a marathon coach and being like, okay, I am going to coach people to run marathons. And you sign people up and then you show up at the, 20th mile and you start saying, dig deep. And you're like, where were you?
Yeah.
At mile 16, like, where were you? This is the problem, is that you're showing up after really the first 500,000 is probably the hardest to save. Am I right?
It's like, why do you need them after you have that much?
And I can give you a lot of reasons why you might need them, which is why I think it's a great industry in and of itself for a very specific group of people. And I can give you every reason, but it's probably not people on this call, right?
Okay.
It's not the majority of Americans. Like it's not available. So you have this industry, they're like advertising on television and you think like, these are very reputable banks and they seem so knowledgeable and kind, and they are. But you walk in and they look at you and they tell you, come back when you have 500,000.
So what you're really talking about is access.
Access.
Yeah.
Okay. But wait, there's more.
Go on.
So I will not name names, but we will just call them maybe perhaps a little less reputable banks.
Okay.
Started realizing, oh, okay, well, how about this? Like, we will provide access to people who don't have the $250,000 or $500,000 minimum to work with. Oh, and I should just point this out. The reason most people will not have 500,000 is not because they don't have 500,000 in assets. It's because if you think about it, most people should be saving into their work retirement plans because of the tax advantages.
Yes.
And the ceiling on it is 20,500. So I wrote a book called But First Save 10. So saving 10%, you can make up to $200,000 and 10% is 20,000, right?
Right.
So you can save up to that. Like, the majority of people, that is going to, like, they can save an enormous amount of money in that. And that could be the majority of their savings.
Right.
So to think, like, how would you have 500,000 on top of that?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not like an IRA rollover. I mean, like, that's why most people just really can't get that kind of access. Okay. So then these maybe a little less reputable firms are like, oh, no minimums. Like, we'll just take you, or really small minimum. And you're like, wow, this is a problem solved. So you think to yourself, yeah, so a bunch of really qualified financial planners are now going to give a bunch of free advice. Literally think about it. Like, you could have your entire life, your entire business be making zero money because you have clients coming in with no money and you're providing them financial planning at a 1% AUM, and 1% of zero is zero.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a really good, sustainable model, right?
You're just dripping with sarcasm here.
Right. So what is happening here? So this is where we get the stories of people who walk into these places, get ushered into an office, and a 23-year-old sits down in front of them that is just off their 6-month internship.
Got it. Okay.
And they are going to give you all the financial planning you need. You, as a mature 45-year-old who's making pretty big ticket decisions on how much house to buy, whether to send your kids to private school, all these major decisions that you are wrestling with, that you've been reading books on, you're self-educating on, and now you're supposed to get a holistic financial plan from a 23-year-old.
Doesn't sound like a good solution.
Right. Do we have a model that works now?
Do we?
No. This is why, right. This is why to answer your original question, why do people look at this industry and in the FIRE movement and think, no, this is not for me. I don't understand. Like, this, none of this makes sense. Like, you're right. It doesn't make sense.
But I think the reason why, and we're going to ask the people on this call, I'm going to do a little poll later, like how many people here actually work with a financial advisor. I see what you're saying, that like, it seems like the industry is broken for all the reasons that you described, but people still feel scared to manage their own investments. And so it's kind of like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because the financial services industry has painted this picture that it's too complicated for you to do it on your own. But so here's the resource that we have for you, is this 23-year-old. Right. And this model of, we're going to take 1% assets under management with, which maybe we'll get into this later, but that gouges a huge percentage of your portfolio over the life of you investing.
Diana, it's only 1%. It's just a teeny tiny little bitty percent.
But we're not going to talk about how that compounds over time. Right. But I think that's the reaction that most people have when you say, the fee is 1%. Well, that doesn't seem that bad, but they're not going to follow up and explain to you that 1% compounds over 30 years.
Right. So what is 1% on $500,000?
Well, I can't do math, Sarah.
Sorry. It's $5,000. I can't do math in my head either. I just have these memorized. So on $1 million portfolio, that's $10,000. And the question is, like, what are they doing for this money? And so then it begs the question too of what are you getting for your money? Are you
Yes.
getting someone investing your money? Is that all you're paying for? Or are you getting financial planning?
Mhm.
Because the other thing is that you're paying these fees, but the industry is not saying, here's what you're getting for those fees. Here are the hours that this person is going to be spending on a financial plan. It's kind of a toss up. It's
Yeah.
like, am I going to get a financial planner or am I going to get someone just investing my money? And what am I paying for and how? There's still like, there are so many layers of questions, even below the one that's the most important one for me is, are you just financially conflicted with my question? I mean, I think that's the most
Right.
important question we should be asking. But then beyond that, let's say like, okay, we feel like we got the 500,000, buried under our mattress. Like we fit this, like we fit the financial planning industry for a really good financial planner. Now, how do we know we're actually getting financial planning, or are
Right.
we just paying a 1% management fee for someone just to literally stick my money in stock and bond markets?
Got it. Okay. So to go back to the original question, I think that we have a better understanding of why the fire community hates financial advisors based on this broken system that you just described. We understand why there's such conflict of interest and why we should care about that. Now, going back to kind of my last point on, I think there are people that still use it because they feel that they can't invest on their own. What would you say to those people? Is it really that complicated to do this on your own?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And we can talk about like the model that we use that I think is going to be the future of the industry that a lot of people are using. But let's just take your specific question because I think it's a good one. I think there are a lot of reasons that people should understand that it has never been a better time to DIY your investments. Investing is the easiest part, Diana. It's literally the
Yeah.
I'll tell you, financial planning is the hard part. Like
Mhm.
that is, I mean, thinking about like tax efficient investing, figuring, which buckets to put it, forget about the investments themselves. Which buckets do you put your cash into to save
Yeah.
it? Because that's going to have more leverage on your money than any
Right.
investment you choose.
Yes.
How much house should you buy? What house is going to lead you to never being able to retire? What house do you buy that's going to allow you to retire when you want to, when you're 50 or 55? What
Mhm.
does your savings rate need to be given how much money you make? Like there are so many questions that are actually hard to answer. They require number
Mhm.
crunching. They require lots and lots and lots of questions for people to even define what their financial goals are. The investing side is the easiest. I
Right.
mean, I was in the belly of the beast as a sell side stock analyst. We were selling our investment recommendations to those mutual funds that were buying the stocks on behalf of people, in retirement plans and pension funds. This is where people are investing. I was part of that world. And I can tell you right now, anecdotally and from the science, there is no beating the market anymore. I mean, that is a
Yeah.
funny, fraught endeavor. And so if you think like, okay, most average investors should be just investing to grow their money over time so that they can reach a financial goal. The goal of investing is not that if my neighbor does 5%, I'm going to try to be up 6%.
Right.
That's over. It's
Right.
settled science. Like you can't beat the market. Market is too efficient. So when you know that intellectually, and you're like, the actual act of investing has never been easier. You open up
Right.
a Vanguard account, you open up a Schwab account, and you can buy those mutual funds that buy the entire market. And also, Diana, it gets even crazier than that. I was explaining to someone the other day, did you know that if once you decide how much you need to save and you know what your investments are that you want to use, right? And they're real simple. Maybe it's like 3 funds. Did you know that you can set up an automatic transfer from your checking account into a brokerage house like, Fidelity, Schwab,
Mhm.
Vanguard? And as long as you're using mutual funds, you can have those deposits automatically invested. So you could literally
Wow.
have your wealth automated without you having to touch it
Yeah.
for,
Welcome to 2022, ladies and gentlemen.
right. And here's the craziest part. The cost to you to do that is for the mutual funds themselves. So these
Right.
passively managed mutual funds, 3, 4, 5 basis points, some of them have no cost at
Right.
all. That is what's crazy.
But what about rebalancing? Shouldn't I pay someone 1% AUM to rebalance my portfolio once a year?
Look, I'll give you now. Let me give you the case for an AUM
Okay.
advisor.
Okay.
I have met people. I mean, and we'll get to how we operate. We meet a lot of people that are like, no, you do not need to be managing your own money. There are people who are paralyzed by money, like from a psychological standpoint.
Yeah.
They have grown up with the stock market feeling so mystic to them. Very difficult risk tolerance. I mean, there are people who need other people, pressing buy
Right.
them and
That's like, you know what
rebalance.
that reminds me of? Like, I just hired someone to help me market EconoMe and social media. And like, I'm developing the content with her, but I need her to press publish. It's just an emotional
Yep.
barrier that I have, So I get what you're
Great.
saying. I get what
That-
you're saying.
That is a terrific example. And, we know that there are a lot of people who need that. Now, I think it'll be fewer and fewer over time.
Yeah.
But right now, I still think that is going to be an in-demand service that is very valuable. Because if you think about it, if you expect the market to grow 5, 6, 7% over time, and you're sitting in cash because you are paralyzed enough that you cannot hit trade, how much better to pay 1% and lose 1% off a 7% rate of return than to be sitting in a cash account and losing to inflation.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say then for the last part of, I'll call this part 1 of our discussion, which is the question, is it really that easy to manage your investments? The answer is yes, because you don't need to beat the market. You only need to match the market to reach your financial goals, right? And that's all what we're trying to do. We want our money to grow to reach our financial goals. And the financial services industry has convinced us in order to do that, we have to beat the market, which is simply not true. Did I say that succinctly enough?
It was beautiful.
Thank you. Okay. So I just want to have you help us understand some terminology, right? You threw around RIA, there's broker, there's a planner, there's a CFP. Like, what is, I sent you an episode of a podcast that I listened to, and they were talking about like retail versus institutional fund advisors. Like, what does all that mean? What does that ecosystem look like that I think is very confusing for people?
Great. Well, let's just close the loop, like on kind of the story and where I migrated.
Okay. Yes.
Because I think that's going to like help pull this together. So we know that like I'm frustrated. I'm looking around in these years that, I'm working as a stock analyst, but asking questions about the financial advice industry and reading about it and asking questions about it and learning about this broker model, which is, selling investments for a commission. And that's how you get paid, is on commissions. This RIA model where you're collecting assets and you're making a percentage on those assets themselves. Okay. So you're not getting money from the sales. Now, I don't think we should go into there, but there are people who are dual registered
so that's the podcast we listened to. And actually, it was the Bogleheads investing, right? Boglehead investing show with Rick Ferry,
which I just love. Yes.
And it's a recent episode. Do you remember the number? It's like number 0, right? It's 47. So it's with Michael Kitches and the woman who was doing the research about the dual registered. I forget her name, but anyway, anyone who's interested in diving further into like why the dual registered advisors are like a problem, highly recommend listening to that podcast episode, and maybe someone can even find it and drop it in the chat.
I'm trying to find it right now because I'm not trusting my memory on if it was,
but it was like, it was seriously like 2 or 3 ago. Like anyone that looks up that podcast should be able to see that episode immediately and drop it in the chat.
It's a terrific episode.
It's really good. So, okay. So we're not going to get into that, but we're going to close this loop. Go ahead.
Right. So, okay. So that's the world as we see it, where 90% being commission salespeople, 10% being RIAs, and then some in there in the middle, making money both ways at the same time. And however they manage to make that feel right in their heads. Okay.
Okay.
So then, this whole time I am like unloading on my mentor, not in the financial world. She's just, just a kind of personal mentor of mine. And I'm telling her all these things I'm finding, and I'm riled up and I'm mad. I've since tempered that a little bit now that I've like
You
met
seem
people
real
really.
mad to me. No, I'm
Well,
kidding.
I was like mad. I mean, now I have like a little bit more shades of gray of like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I've seen really good people in both models. They're actually really great financial planners. And I would hate to like lump this entire them
Yeah.
to
But
this
like, how
entire.
could you know everything you know and it not get you pissed off?
Yeah, no, that's right. And I was more just frustrated. Like, and the other thing too is you're like asking yourself, am I crazy? Or are these like 700,000 people crazy? You're like, I must be crazy because like, I feel like this is so wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just this I'm not even a financial planner. I'm not even in that world. I'm a stock analyst. Like, and I'm saying like, this is nuts to me. But all these people seem to think it's perfectly normal because they're going into it, doing it. And so
Well,
anyway,
and they're making money. And I think that they are trained salespeople that they have drank the Kool-Aid, and I think they truly believe that they're helping people. So that's what makes it I think, even more dangerous.
right. They're buying that. Yeah, that's the other thing. And I've backed off on some of my like more scathing criticism because I actually think these people are buying the stuff themselves. I mean, like I really think they believe in it. So
Yeah.
I really think that the intentions are really good. It's just the financial conflict that's been built, or the
Right.
financial, the how out of touch the AUM is for just normal everyday people. I think that is where my rub is
Got it.
now.
Okay.
It's just the structure of it all, not the people in it. Okay. So this friend who is listening to all this, she's like, I have this financial advisor, and that's kind of an untouchable place. I love this guy. He's done a real good job. He's grown my money over time. And everyone thinks their financial advisor is genius. And I don't have any data to support anything else. So I go with it. So she'd always talked about how much she loved this financial advisor. And then I started saying, like, where do people go? Like, if they want to save more money, if they want to budget and all of this stuff. So she said, well, now wait a minute. I don't go to my financial advisor for that advice. I was like, well, where do you go? And she said, I go to this lady's house. This lady,
What?
her name is Linda. And I'm
That's
sitting
my mom's name. She goes to my mom's house. What?
there, let's go to your mom's house. And you sit on her couch, and she has a notepad and a pen, and she helps you figure out how much you should be saving. And she helps you figure out, like,
She needs to be in EconoMe, Linda.
Linda's with Aptus now. But let me just tell you about Linda. Okay, so I'm like, I got to meet this Linda.
Okay.
And so Linda and I go to Starbucks, and I'm like, what is the deal, Linda? So you mean people like walk into your house and they write you a check and you like run, a savings plan for them? And she's like, yeah, we go through their bills. We figure out what they
Linda
can get rid
sounds
of.
cool as shit.
She's cool as shit. There is like, that is the best description of Linda. And I'm like, I am sitting here thinking, like, think about how simple this is. People write a check for her advice, but I'm sitting here going like, this is it. This is it. This is like the light shining down to the answer to the frustration, and all of it is happening right here, this moment. This is what people need. They need to be able to sit down on your couch and talk about why it is that you live in a $500,000 house, but you can probably only afford a $300,000 one. Work out the numbers, sell the big house, buy the small one, and literally have a chance to stop working on your own terms one day. That is financial planning.
Okay.
She wasn't doing any investment advice at all. So anyway, I was like, okay, Linda, I want to take this idea. I want to start this business, but like, why in the world are you telling me all your like trade secrets? She said, because in 5 lifetimes, I couldn't serve the number of people who want this.
And need it. Want and need it. Yeah.
And I haven't met anyone else interested in even doing this before.
Wow.
So Linda gave me everything. She like had a whiteboard. She was teaching me about insurance. Like, so here I'm self-educating with the CFP. I'm just going into it. And there's one other piece of the story that I have to throw in, because when I was graduating from the Kennedy School, I went to my commencement speaker said, I am sick and tired of you all being so idealistic and graduating from here. And all you do is you go make a big paycheck and you live on your last dollar, and your notions of changing the world are now gone because you have a lifestyle to maintain. I listened. I bought a beater old car for $2,000 and I got an apartment for $425 a month. Was there a fire movement? Yes. I wasn't aware of it, but I was in it in 2007 and 08.
Love it.
So for 4 years, I had been socking away half of my paycheck. And so not only was after those, several years of like searching, did I find the answer, but I also had the cash to start a business that would take at least 5 years to become profitable.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I just wanted to
Yes.
throw that in since
That's
we are in the fire
amazing.
world.
Yes.
I didn't even know what that cash was for. I thought I was going to be in that job the rest of my life. I mean, I wanted to work for this company. So anyway.
Good. Okay. So I'm conscious of time because I think people have questions and I want to start getting to some of those because I think we're really digging in here. Just so everyone knows what else I wanted to address was the terminology question that I had just asked. And then I really wanted to close it out with like, who does and doesn't need an advisor? What can you expect them to do for you? And how do you find one? Because like you said, how do you know that you're working with someone that you can trust based on the dynamic that you just described? So I'm just going to leave it to you to get on your soapbox about all that again. I'm just going to sit back.
And this is short because I agree. I want to hear from people. I'm very eager to hear what folks have to say about this. So I started a company that I didn't know the definition at the time because there was no definition, that we would now call an advice only flat fee financial company. And so I have full-time financial planners who are very talented, CFAs, CFPs, like very, 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 credentialed, talented, self-educated people who are full-time financial planners. And we do guided DIY. So our clients make all their own investment trades. We teach them to invest and we run the hardest part, which is the financial planning process. And so it's a mixture of an upfront fee for financial planning for the hours that it takes to do it, and then a subscription model for the implementation of the plan, the rebalancing, and the ongoing support.
I said I wasn't going to talk, but I just need to make this point because what you just said to me is the answer for, I had this conversation with a financial advisor who was collecting AUM fees, and I showed her this graph of like how if you charge a 2% AUM fee, you're basically gouging 30% of someone's portfolio over 30 years. And I said, do you think this is accurate? And she said, yeah. And I said, how do you justify taking 30% of someone's portfolio? And she said, well, if they didn't work with me, they would panic sell and have nothing. And I said, so you think the answer to preventing panic selling is to take 30% of someone's portfolio? I think the answer is education. And that is what you're describing. But it is, I have never met anyone in financial planning that feels that there's no alternative to solving this problem of panic selling and people not knowing what they're doing aside from collecting an AUM fee. But there is an alternative, and it's education. And that's what we are here to do today. Right? Okay. Right. So sorry, go on.
So it's a brilliant, I mean, like you couldn't have a more accurate one. And some people will say, oh no, people don't charge 2% AUMs. Well, guess what? Yeah, they charge 1% AUM. And then a lot of advisors are not putting people in passive funds. They're putting people in mutual funds that carry their own 1% fee. Now, luckily that is rapidly changing as people are asking questions, but that's how you can add up to a 2% fee, to your point. Okay. And yes, it is very much 30% of your money over time. And yeah, she's right. If you're going to panic sell and do something wrong one time during one bad recession market, she has more than offset all of those fees paid. She's right. But there is another way to help people where they don't panic sell and you don't take that much money out. And that's flat fee investing. Now, I did not know this until I listened to that podcast because I'm still I network with other flat fee advice only advisors, and we're a small and a mighty group, and we support each other. And it's incredible. It's an incredible community. But I was excited to hear on that podcast that you shared with Rick Ferry that they estimate there are about 1,000 of us now, which is just,
Yes. Cause I think the last time we talked about this, and you had said to me that there are only 3% of all advisors are flat fee structured, right? And so it's like they're extremely hard to find. But yes, I remember hearing that. And actually, someone in our Facebook group, which if you guys aren't a part of the For the Fi Curious Facebook group, Cody Garrett, who I know is on the line, he just signed up like 10 minutes before we started. But he dropped the link in that group of like, I think he's building a network of the flat fee advisors to help people find them, because that they exist. Maybe there's 1,000 of them, but you know what? The more we talk about this, those 1,000 people are going to be freaking busy, right? But we got to find them. We need access to them. And so I think what you're doing, what Cody's doing, I know that we've talked about Harry Sit, the finance,
it's amazing.
The
Yes.
Finance Buff, right, is his brand. And he has a service, a matching service where he will match you with a flat fee advisor.
And can I say this too, Diana, because he's matched people to us. And I remember getting on a call after he sent me 2 clients, and I was like, Harry, this is so nice of you. I mean, what can I do? And he said, nothing. I want you to do nothing except make these clients super happy and run very smart financial plans for them. He himself is non-conflicted. He collects a fee for his service to match you. He doesn't say, give me a kickback of your fees, because then that'd be non-conflicted. He would be just matching you to the advisor.
So the person who wants the advice pays a fee to Harry, and that's how he gets compensated for that.
Yeah. And it makes sense, because here's the thing, like, we are a flat fee advisor, but we do different things, right? And there's going to be different fee models, and it makes sense that instead of you having to like sort through 1,000 people, find them in the first place, sort through them, to pay a fee for someone to match you. It's like a couple $100, like, to match you with them. It's a brilliant model, I think. And let me just say one more thing, because I do want to tell the Achilles heel of flat fee. The truth is that we have extremely capable financial planners who are incredible, but you have to pay them. And so we can't pay $70,000 a year for our financial planners to do what they do. They're too good. They've got decades of experience. And so we are really good for people who can pay, an upfront several $1,000 fee and $250 a month. But for a lot of people on here, that's not going to make sense. If you're making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
But here's my best advice for this. So the other industry that we are in is we do retirement plans. We manage retirement plans. And we are disrupting that industry probably more than we're disrupting in the financial planning industry.
Really?
Yes, because we charge a flat fee in a world that charges AUM on those assets.
Okay.
So the way we charge is how many meetings we do with retirement plan participants. So if we get a question from someone to how to budget, how to buy a house, they book an appointment with us, and we are all financial planners. I can book them with any of our financial planners in the company. And depending on their question, we can match them well. But what's important about that is if you are in a company that has a retirement plan, chances are they have a retirement plan advisor, and you can book an appointment with them, and they are non-conflicted, right?
Yes, but here, let me tell you this one point, because Josh in our Facebook group, when I was asking people, do you use a financial advisor? And he was curious about that, right? He had a plan through his employer. And when he went to the advisor that was offered through his employer's plan, they tried to sell him an annuity. So I think what you have said to me on like how you are managing those employer sponsored plans, and the benefit to that is that you have the employer paying for it versus the employee, right?
In some cases, the employer pays for it, which is the best. But in other cases, we win based on price, but our pricing is for the hours we spend. So the participants are still paying just like they paid before, but now their fees are lower, because a flat fee is always, almost always going to be, smaller than these AUM on the whole assets on the firm. But what's cool is that they can ask us these questions. So this is what I would put back to Josh. that is your money. That is your money that is paying that advisor. And you should go to HR and let them know what's happening and encourage them to put your plan to bid. And we have seen people successfully make retirement plan committees at their own companies where they evaluate what the advisor is doing, what the record keeper is doing, what the TPA is doing, and then they make recommendations for putting all these services to bid. They help run the bids and they get lower fees. And this is benefiting not only themselves, but also their coworkers. And so if I might suggest maybe at EconoMe, maybe I could run a session on how to make your own retirement plan committee at work to advocate for a better retirement plan.
Right.
Because that is where people are going to find financial advice. And that's where you should be able to find financial advice.
Love it. And when you think about, like, I know you and I have talked about how you do these like financial wellness workshops for the companies that you run their retirement offerings. And, you know, the fact that you are giving access to financial literacy and the employer is paying for it because for them it's beneficial. How many employers invest in wellness initiatives, right? And they want their employees to be happy and they have programs to prevent burnout and they have this, that, and the other thing. Well, the number one stress for most people is their finances. Right. And so if you can empower them and pay for their education around financial literacy, it's good for the employee, it's good for the employer. I mean, I think you're really right about how I have said since I've met you that I feel like you are revolutionizing the world of financial planning. And just in this conversation, we're seeing you do it on the, you know, employer side of things, offering the retirement benefits, as well as on the individual side with DIY investing. So I just think that's amazing that you're doing that. Did we wrap that up? Who does and doesn't need an advisor? What can you expect them to do for you? And how do you find a good one? And then as far as the terminology.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing, like with the terminology and like how this works. So when you go to a big financial planning firm and you might think you're getting this like cohesive team of people that are operating on the same assumptions. And the truth is that these are small fiefdoms. And I want to
say that again. You just cut out a little bit.
These are like little fiefdoms, little kingdoms, where you have an advisor and he does it this way, but the other advisor does it totally different way. So you have to actually like realize there's nuance within these firms. At a firm like ours and a lot of these flat fee firms, like I don't run the financial planning side. So my partner, Tim Quillen, runs it. Well, he is like his commitment is one model, one process, and everyone collaborates at all times on this one process that we all use. So if you're using this planner versus that planner, it's still the same philosophy, same model, same everything. And that's what I think people need to be aware of is that when they're asking these questions and interviewing people, they need to get a sense of, is this a collective, like company-wide thing where everyone is like literally improving the process, or are you just one person who thinks this is the right way to do it and you're just self-educated for this one process? Because I think that's a big difference.
Got it.
So as far as like the actual jargon goes, jargon matters. You want a fiduciary. That is an important question, but remember, you need to understand what is a fiduciary. This is a person that has removed conflicts of interest. And so if you know that someone is selling insurance and calling themselves a fiduciary, if that doesn't smell right, you're right.
But you just said that 90% of what we have access to has these conflicts of interest. So are you saying that 90% of the industry is actually not a fiduciary standard?
Yes.
What the hell, Sarah Catherine? I'm telling you why does this blow my mind is because every single time I read articles about this all day. I hear people say all day, find a fiduciary, find a fiduciary, find a fiduciary. And what you're saying is they basically don't exist.
They do.
Aside from the 10%.
But did you know that did you know that just asking if someone's a fiduciary isn't going to find you your fiduciary? Because did you know that right now it is legal for you to put on one hat where you're like, okay, I am acting as your financial advisor right now. And like run the financial plan. And then you get to take that hat off and be like, okay, now I am no longer a fiduciary. I have a different set of requirements, which is a best interest requirement. And I can now sell you something. Did you know you get to change your hats?
Well, you know how you know that they're doing that? Hat hair. That's how you know. You got to throw in a little comedy here now and then,
Exactly.
you know?
That's it.
All right. Paching ching. Okay. So terminology, jargon matters. Go on.
Yeah. So do you want to just throw out some jargon at me and
Well,
I'll
like
just
when we were,
demystify it?
again, the institutional versus retail fund managers, like what is that? I don't get it.
Okay, so what you're talking about here is a subtle but powerful conflict of interest. So in the world of mutual funds, which is how the majority of us are going to buy stocks and bonds through mutual funds. You in the actively managed mutual fund market, not the passive market, in the actively managed mutual fund market, you're going to have different fund classes is what they're called. And some of these fund classes have higher expense ratios than the institutional fund classes, which may not which have very, very low fees, but they also don't pay, I'll call them kickbacks, referral fee, 12B1 fees, trailers, they're wrap fees. I mean, there's like a lot of different ways of calling these fees, but it's basically throwing back money to the person who told their client to go buy this thing in the first place.
Okay.
So the institutional fund classes are typically sold by people who are RIAs.
Okay.
Because they don't make money on that. They are literally making money on their clients' assets. They don't need or can make money on those trailers. So they're aligned with their clients' interests to lower their clients' fees on the mutual funds that they're putting their clients into. Now, if you're a commissioned salesperson who is going to make money on trailers and you have several different options to buy the same fund, are you going to have your client buy the lowest fee fund or the one that's going to give you the highest commission back?
So it's like you're buying into the same investment, but depending on if you are an IRA or a retail fund manager, it's the same investment, but like the fee structure is different.
Right. The mutual fund actually has different versions of the fund,
but it's the same investment.
Same investment.
Interesting. Okay. So that answers my question on institutional versus retail. What about like, so you mentioned the RIA. What about CFP, a broker, a planner? Like, and anyone can call themselves a financial advisor. So like what designations, now you have a couple designations that I read off when I did your introduction, like what designations actually matter?
I wouldn't use it. I mean, that's the thing, is like everyone can call themselves a financial advisor. They're insurance people who, I mean, do you realize insurance companies are getting their brokers to get their CFPs?
Okay. So, cause I always thought like CFP is the gold standard. And actually in one of our first conversations, I asked you like, should I go for this? Should I go for a CFP? And you were like, no.
I mean, I think until we can actually set ourselves apart as like line in the sand, we are fiduciaries at all times. Like there will be, I will feel more comfortable being a part of that. But as long as I still see people out there selling products, calling themselves advisors and having that CFP designation, it's going to be really hard for me to like enthusiastically get behind the designation. Yes, I have it. And, I will say like, yes, it gives you a certain level of like knowledge base that people can rely on. But like I said at the very beginning, I mean, I talk to these EconoMe participants and I would put them up against a CFP any day of the week. When I look at the number of books that they've read, the knowledge base that they have on financial planning, the actions they've personally taken, it's really incredible. So yeah, I'm not giving, if it's a CFP, yes, they're good. If not, no, they're not. If they call themselves a financial advisor, they're bad. If they call themselves a financial planner, they're good. Unfortunately, it's the Wild West. Anyone can call themselves anything.
Got it. Okay. I feel good about that. Do you feel good about that, Sarah Catherine?
Is it time for
I think it's time. So I'm looking at this document that we're sharing from Jessica, and she pulled a few questions that I kind of feel like we addressed most of these. What do you think about fee only financial planners? Well, actually, so I remember talking to you about this and you said it's flat fee. It's not fee only. It's not fee based. It's flat fee. So again, jargon matters. Terminology matters. What is the difference?
Okay. Flat fee is you charge a fee. That's the only way you get paid is your client writing you a check.
Okay.
Fee only is a designation for people who only take that AUM fee. So that's that AUM structure. That's fee only. Fee based is the Wild West. You can sell anything you want.
Okay.
Sell products. You can do AUM plus sell some products.
Right.
It's a lot.
Because again, like I agree, like terminology matters so much. It reminds me of like when I talk to people and they say, I'm maxing out my retirement vehicles.
And they're maxing out the match.
Exactly. It's the match. I'm like, no. Are you fully funding it up to the limit, the contribution limit? Let's make that clear here. That's a huge difference. Huge difference, right? And so I think this is kind of along that same vein, because even when I look at this question, what do you think of fee only planners that you pay by the hour instead of the percentage? That is a confusion on what fee only means. What they're trying to say is flat fee because you're paying by the hour.
Right. So technically I am in the world of fee only, not by choice, but because that's what the industry has lumped me in, as if I am like the same as an AUM advisor. I don't consider myself that. That's why I'm very clear. I am advice only and I am flat fee. But this person is very savvy because they're naming it. I am actually under the umbrella of fee only.
And why is that? Is it because of the other side of your business? Okay.
No, not the other side. That's just how the industry hasn't moved forward enough to like give us our own designation. So we're still hanging out under the fee only umbrella, but we're still out there like, no, we're a little different, a lot different than AUM.
Okay. That definitely makes more sense.
Our own designation yet.
Got it. Okay. How can a DIY investor determine if their prospective financial advisor is fire friendly? I would just say to this one, ask them, what do you think about the FIRE movement? If someone says you'll never be able to retire on $1 million and you need 10, probably not FIRE friendly, right? If they are taking an AUM fee, probably not FIRE friendly. I mean, what would you add to that?
Good question. You know, I was in a conversation the other day talking about our clients, because our clients have like 30, 40, sometimes cases like 50% savings rates. And I calculate a savings rate on gross, not net.
Okay.
If you think about that, that's like, 40% on gross, and you've got 30% coming out on taxes. You're spending 30% of your entire like gross pay, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So those are our clients. And I was telling someone about that, and most of our clients are physicians. I will say that, not by choice. That's just who finds us. And this physician was like, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, people need to live now. You think you want to retire. I love, this is what I love. Like, you think you want to retire at that age when you're young, but when you get there, you realize you don't. And I was like, you just don't get it.
Well, I think they don't, a lot of people who I think talk smack about the FIRE movement is because this word retirement, everyone understands it in a different way. Like, I look at FIRE as separating your finances from your work. It doesn't mean not working. It means not using work to fund your livelihood, right? Like there's a distinction there. And most people hear the word retirement and they think no other sources of income, no work at all. There's the retirement police out there, wagging their finger at all of us, especially people on this call, saying that looks like work, what you're doing with your time. You're not actually retired. So I think that's a great point. If your financial advisor doesn't understand the nuances to how we can define what retirement is, probably not FIRE friendly.
Yeah. And you can tell people, like, you can pick up on those cues, like, well, you think that now, like, so very paternalistic in their responses. So yeah, I think that you can pick up on just a conversation where you want to be work optional at a really young age. If they're trying to back you off that goal, that's not going to be a FIRE friendly advisor.
Okay. I think this is a good question. When would someone work with a flat, and I love how she put it in caps, because we are like flat fee, right? Flat fee financial planner. When would someone work with a flat fee financial planner versus a financial coach? So kind of Linda, our favorite Linda from earlier in this conversation, she's probably considered a financial coach, right? So how do you know if you need someone like her versus someone that, you know, has a designation that's charging the flat fee?
I can't wait for financial coaching to be the dominant form of how people get financial advice. The ability to save is far harder than the ability to invest. Financial coaching is incredibly valuable. Now, I started out that way, but then what happened is the sophistication of the people coming in required me to give investment advice. And that's why I ended up getting the RIA, CFP, and all of that. I was perfectly happy helping people do budgets. And that's just not the direction that the company went in. And for a lot of reasons, I'm happy. Financial coaches are incredible. And I think that's what most people, especially starting out in their career, should focus on. And that's what we do in our retirement plans, is really more financial coaching than financial planning. That is a very savvy question. And here's the thing, a financial coach that is not doing investments and not doing any investment advice and is very clear, they're not going to have the regulatory burden that a company like mine has. And so they can offer this at a much more reasonable fee because they don't have these like crazy regulations that they have
So
to.
when do you know that, like, okay, I've gotten what I needed to get out education wise out of this financial coach? I think I need a little bit more to someone that can actually give investment advice. Like, when do you know you need to make that shift?
Some people may never. Because think about it. Like the majority of like middle-class America, if you've got access to a retirement plan at work, you may never need an advisor. Right? If you're saving enough in your retirement plan and you're not making dumb mistakes on your house and car, like you're fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. I think we got it on these questions. I don't want people to just come to EconoMe Encore and not see and lose the value that I think is really about the EconoMe brand, which is in-person connection. But tell me if you liked this. Tell me if you found this helpful. Tell me if you want me to do more of this. Tell me you got enough value out of this that you think I should keep doing it. I really want to hear from you. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Thank you so much, everyone.